What if I told you a tiny island with almost no natural resources transformed itself into a financial titan, an economic miracle that everyone is talking about? Singapore's story isn't just about prosperity, it's a blueprint for how any nation can undergo radical transformation. Let's start with the big question. How did this resource-poor island nation rise to become one of the world's wealthiest countries? In the 1960s, Singapore faced immense challenges: poverty, limited land, and no natural resources. Yet, within a few decades, it was outpacing economic giants. Singapore didn't have the advantages of land, oil, or minerals, so it took a different path, betting on education, infrastructure, and a business-friendly environment. But none of this happened by accident. It all began with a bold vision. What radical steps did Singapore's founders take to change its future? Let's look back at those early years of leadership. The foundation of Singapore's transformation lies in the vision of its founding leaders, especially its first Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew. His vision was simple, but ambitious. If Singapore couldn't rely on natural resources, it would rely on human resources. His government implemented universal education, crafted policies to attract foreign investment, and built infrastructure for rapid industrialization. But the cornerstone was a zero-tolerance policy on corruption, making Singapore one of the most transparent and reliable places for business. Within years, companies like Shell and General Electric were establishing operations, bringing jobs and expertise. This was only the beginning. Lee and his team were thinking long-term, laying a foundation for Singapore to evolve from labor-intensive industries to high-tech, high-value sectors. Yet, location played a key role in Singapore's rise. What makes Singapore's geography more than just an advantage? Please like and subscribe. Your support helps us grow. Thank you. Singapore sits at the crossroads of the world's busiest trade routes, where ships between Europe and Asia stop to dock, refuel, and trade. Singapore's leaders understood the power of this position and invested heavily in creating one of the world's largest and most efficient ports. By 1989, Singapore was handling almost 9 million tons of cargo. But the strategy didn't stop there. Singapore signed free trade agreements across the globe, enhancing its trade footprint and cementing its place as a vital hub connecting Asian markets to the world. While trade was booming, Singapore's leaders knew they needed more than just ports. Why was manufacturing a crucial first step? In the 1960s, Singapore focused on manufacturing to create immediate jobs. Factories produced everything from textiles to electronics, but this wasn't the end goal. Singapore's leaders saw manufacturing as a stepping stone toward a knowledge-based economy. Rather than get stuck in low-cost labor markets, Singapore aimed higher. According to the Ministry of Trade and Industry's 2023 report, manufacturing now contributes about 20% of Singapore's GDP, down from 30% in the 1980s as the economy shifted to high-value sectors. By the late 1970s, Singapore moved into high-tech manufacturing, eventually becoming a key player in electronics and pharmaceuticals. Global giants like Apple and Pfizer set up in Singapore, drawn by its skilled workforce and infrastructure. But manufacturing was only the beginning. How did financial liberalization propel Singapore into a global financial powerhouse? Singapore's leaders recognized the potential in financial markets early on. In the 1980s, Singapore opened up banking regulations, making it easier for foreign banks to establish branches. Financial giants like HSBC, Citibank, and JP Morgan set up shop. Today, Singapore's financial sector manages over $3.6 trillion in assets, according to the Straits Times in 2023. Within a few decades, Singapore became one of the world's premier financial hubs, known for wealth management and investment, attracting high-net-worth individuals from around the globe. The financial sector was thriving, but taxes played a huge role too. What's the impact of Singapore's ultra-low corporate taxes? With corporate tax rates at 17%, Singapore attracted international business giants like Google, Facebook, and Amazon. This low-tax policy fostered significant foreign direct investment, creating jobs and further boosting the economy. In 2023, Singapore's tax policy drew over 37,000 multinational corporations, significantly boosting employment and GDP. While critics debate the ethics of low corporate taxes, for Singapore, the benefits have been clear. The influx of capital, talent, and industry spurred local businesses and workers, creating a win-win dynamic. Corporate taxes were just one piece of the puzzle. How did Singapore become a hub for knowledge and innovation? As the digital age took off, Singapore positioned itself as the place for innovation. Research centers, technology parks, and government grants fostered an ecosystem ripe for growth. By the 2000s, Singapore wasn't just producing tech, it was developing it. From biotech to artificial intelligence, Singapore's government poured resources into fostering cutting-edge research and development. Today, it's often called Southeast Asia's Silicon Valley, with incubators and incentives that support startups and breakthrough technologies. Singapore didn't only attract innovators, it also became a luxury destination. What draws the world's wealthiest here? Singapore has transformed into a luxury hub, featuring attractions like the Marina Bay Sands and Sentosa Island. With the Formula One night race, luxury resorts, and exclusive fine dining, Singapore is now a go-to destination for the global elite. In 2023, luxury tourism contributed 15% of Singapore's GDP, with average tourist spending hitting record highs of $2,000 per day, according to the Singapore Tourism Board. This influx of affluent tourists not only boosts Singapore's economy, but also strengthens its brand as a luxury and business-friendly destination. Yet, Singapore's success came with restrictions. Why are civil liberties limited in such a prosperous place? Often called an authoritarian democracy, Singapore prioritizes stability over some freedoms. With strict laws governing speech, assembly, and media, these policies aim to maintain order and security, creating one of the safest countries worldwide. For many, the trade-off between stability and freedom is acceptable. Singapore has exceptionally low crime rates and a high standard of living. But younger generations are beginning to question the limits on freedom. As society evolves, will Singapore balance the demand for freedom with economic stability? Singapore's government faces a complex challenge balancing economic policies with growing calls for liberalization. Younger Singaporeans are more globally connected and increasingly vocal about transparency and human rights. Lawrence Wong, former Deputy Prime Minister, has promised that the government remains open to feedback and is committed to keeping Singapore competitive and inclusive. The question now is whether Singapore can maintain stability and economic growth while adapting to the demands of its people. With new leadership, can Singapore sustain its trajectory? As Singapore transitions to new leadership under Lawrence Wong, all eyes are on his approach to modernization. Wong has emphasized a focus on inclusivity, promising that Singapore's prosperity will benefit all citizens. Bloomberg's senior economist Tamara Henderson notes, Singapore's continuity signals stability, but Wong's modernization approach could attract a new wave of investment. But with success also comes inequality. Has Singapore's wealth led to social fractures? Singapore's rapid growth brought prosperity, but also widened the gap between rich and poor. Skyrocketing property prices have made housing unaffordable for some Singaporeans, and income inequality continues to rise. To address this, the government has introduced measures like the Silver Support Scheme. Singapore's Gini coefficient, a measure of income inequality, has seen fluctuations, highlighting the challenges the country faces in balancing rapid economic growth with social equity. The government has responded with initiatives like the Silver Support Scheme for the elderly and the Workfare Income Supplement for low-income workers. These social programs aim to cushion the impact of rising costs and offer support to those left behind. But even with social policies, Singapore faces another looming issue: its aging population. Can it sustain prosperity as the workforce shrinks? Singapore's population is aging rapidly, with 1 in 4 residents expected to be over the age of 65 by 2030. This demographic shift puts strain on the economy as fewer workers support a growing elderly population. Rising healthcare needs and pension costs are also big considerations for the government. The Ministry of Manpower estimates that by 2035, Singapore's workforce could decrease by up to 10%, impacting productivity and growth. To address this, the government is investing in automation and retraining programs to keep older workers in the labor force. There's also a strong push for innovation in healthcare, with programs aimed at elder-friendly services and health tech solutions. However, the question remains: can Singapore balance an aging society with its ambitions for growth? Despite these demographic shifts, Singapore's high-tech economy is pushing forward. What's next on its innovation horizon? Singapore's future lies in its commitment to becoming a global leader in high-tech and sustainable industries. Artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and biotechnology are among the core focus areas. The government has invested in high-tech initiatives like the Research, Innovation, and Enterprise 2025 plan, committing billions to advance technology over the next decade. These investments are aimed at ensuring that Singapore remains competitive in a world increasingly reliant on technology and sustainable practices. With ambitious projects like vertical farming, the nation is setting itself up to tackle resource constraints while embracing greener, more innovative solutions. Singapore's story is a testament to resilience, adaptability, and visionary leadership. From a tiny island to a global powerhouse, its journey continues to evolve. But what challenges and opportunities lie ahead in a world facing climate change, political shifts, and technological disruption? We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.